work really well in sync. And we've developed what I think is an excellent plan. And that plan started to really come together with Sam. And that plan will include building around Sam and our other excellent young players. And that plan now includes finding an excellent new coach, which I'm very excited about.
Welcome into practice today, presented by SiriusXM. Olivia Landis, Ethan Greenberg, and Eric Allen coming to you live from the Atlantic Health Jets Training Center. And we just heard from CEO Christopher Johnson, who dropped some news out of Florham Park yesterday as he spoke to the media today, talking about how, yesterday they did talk to head coach Todd Bowles and relieved him of his duties for the upcoming 2019 season. And he had some good words to say about Todd Bowles, said he was a good man as he spoke to the media, but what were some important first impressions that, EA, we'll start with you, that you took away from Christopher Johnson speaking to the media today?
Well, Liv, first off, things changed quickly in the National Football League, because yesterday we were on the field at Gillette Stadium doing a pregame show, and the Jets finished up their 2018 season against the Patriots. Unfortunately, they lost that game. They finished 4-12 this year. Christopher Johnson came to a conclusion that this was the time for a change of direction. And Todd Bowles, he said he was a good man. He plans on being friends with him for a long time. But with that being said, he thought this was the proper move for this organization. What stands out to me, Greens, right now, the Jets are not alone in this boat in terms of looking for a head coach in the NFL. 25% of the teams in the National Football League right now are searching for a head coach. That is 8 out of 32. It's amazing right now, the landscape, when you look across the league.
I think when just pertaining to this situation, after hearing Christopher Johnson speak, I think it was clear that all options are on the table. He did not specify that he wanted an offensive guy, a defensive guy. He said anyone is welcome here, pretty much, except I will say the one thing he did say, that if someone wanted full control of personnel moves, Christopher Johnson said, I don't think that would be the right fit here. But college coaches on the table, professional coaches on the table. He said someone that has experience developing a young quarterback would be a plus, but it's not the end-all, be-all. And, of course, with Sam Darnold here, that would be very important, or a very good thing to have in your corner if you are wanting to coach the New York Jets, because that's going to be a big piece of why a coach would want to come here. But I think that the Jets are excited about the future. I think you could tell by Christopher Johnson and general manager Mike McCagnon both expressed their confidence in each other, and they're going to be working together along with Brian Heimerdinger to find the next coach of the New York Jets. Well,
Brian Heimerdinger, Mike McCagnon's right-hand man, the vice president of player personnel here for the green and white. But Christopher Johnson keeping things close to the vest today, saying, hey, I don't want to discuss potential candidates, but you're right, Greens. He definitely did say, hey, if guys have head coaching experience, that's great. That's a plus. If it's an offensive guy who's had success grooming a young quarterback, that's tremendous as well. But guys who have thrived on the defensive side of the ball, they're not ruling them out. Again, no external search committee helping the Jets with this one. Remember last time around when the Jets were searching for a head coach, when they ended up hiring Todd Bowles, they hired consultants Charlie Casserly and Ron Wolf. Now, the report structure inside the organization will not change. The new head coach will continue to report to Christopher Johnson, as will Mike McCagnon.
So now that the news is broke that the Jets will be searching actively for a new head coach, let's actually hear from CEO Christopher Johnson and general manager Mike McCagnon on some of the qualities they're looking for the new Jets head coach.
Well, we're trying to find the right guy for our situation. I don't think we want to be penciled into an offensive or defensive-minded coach. We're really focused on trying to get the right guy for the job. Obviously, it's going to be, some qualities we're going to look at are leadership, ability to communicate, vision. So for us, it's we're not really locked into one particular type of coach. We want to find the right guy for our job with an idea of, obviously with a plan of how to develop our young quarterback, Sam Darnold.
Well, it's a competitive process. There are a lot of other teams who are looking for head coaches right now, so time is definitely of the essence. That said, I think that this is a good landing spot for a coach. There are a number of reasons why the Jets are a good place to be right now, and that might not have been true a few years ago. This is a good place to be.
Does a coach have to have previous experience as a head coach in your mind?
I think that helps, but that won't be the be-all and end-all of this search.
Will you consider a collegiate coach?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
What is your overall message to your fan base as you get ready to embark on probably the most important search in recent years?
It starts with the fact that the buck stops with me. I think I let the fans down here, and I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that we get to and win the Super Bowl.
CEO Christopher Johnson having complete confidence in why the New York Jets are a good landing spot for a future head coach. And let's dive into what are some of the key reasons as to why this would be a good spot for a coach to come in for the 2019 season.
Well, CJ elaborated on that this afternoon. He said that we have the young quarterback in place. We have financial flexibility, more than $100 million under the cap. He thinks there are some good young players here. He mentioned Chris Herndon. We know what Jamal Adams has done for the green and white so far this season. The Jets hold the number 3 overall selection in the 2019 draft, and that's always a good spot to be in. They have 6 picks overall. And if you're looking at these 8 vacancies, Greens, the 2 that jump out to me are Cleveland, because they look like they got it set up themselves. Baker Mayfield set a rookie passer record in terms of touchdowns, and then also Aaron Rodgers with the Green Bay Packers. But a lot of these other teams, I don't necessarily know that they have what the Jets have in terms of that young quarterback, the financial flexibility, and Christopher Johnson said New York. New York, a lot of people are going to be attracted to this market. And there were a couple quotes that stood out there to me today. But 8 vacancies in the National Football League. And I don't care if you're a Jets fan or you're just an observer in the National Football League. This is a good job. This is an attractive place. There are going to be a lot of people who are going to want to coach for this franchise.
I completely agree with you when you look at the Jets situation, and especially compared to the other vacancies. And completely agree with you on Green Bay and Cleveland. And when you look at some of the other vacancies, if you don't know the other teams that are looking for a head coach that come to mind, the Miami Dolphins, the Denver Broncos, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Cincinnati Bengals,
the Arizona
Cardinals. I
Just
mean,
list
the
them all.
list goes on and on. This is Black Monday for a reason. It's one of the worst days in the NFL.
Yeah, it's tough. Just jumping off on that real quick is that, you feel for all these guys, because not only are a lot of head coaches going, but a lot of people on their staffs and their families have to move, and it's a transient business, the National Football League.
But just jumping back to this point, why this is a good situation, you touched on all the reasons, but the cap space in particular, I just want to say $100 million is a lot of money. It's actually second most in the NFL. The Indianapolis Colts have the most money with over $110 million, something crazy. But the Jets are set up pretty well for the future, and especially when you look at the way Sam Darnold's playing or played, because now the season's over as of late, in the final quarter since he returned from injury. I mean, things are bright for the Jets, especially as they move forward. And I think that whoever the next coach will be, hopefully that person and Sam Darnold will be here for a long time to come and lead the Jets to a brighter future.
And you got to credit Mike McCagnon for what he did last spring, Liv, because on March 17th he moved up in that draft 3 slots. He didn't know who was going to be on the board, but he knew he was going to get a good young quarterback, and it ended up paying off. You look at Sam Darnold, he just finished his first season in the National Football League, 17 touchdown passes, and he really flourished down the stretch. I think even in New England yesterday, guys, the Jets scored just 3 points. But you watch a number of those plays from Sam Darnold. He's a big-time talent who got better, and he's only going to get better in year 2. And Liv, Greens likes to talk about the interview you had with Tony Romo
Yes, I do.
earlier this
Yes,
year.
I do.
He always he always comes back to that and saying that, hey, Tony Romo is a guy who knows what it takes to take that next step in the National Football League. And he told you expect it from Sam Darnold in year 2.
Yeah, he kind of called it, did he not? He said maybe look at the end of the season for him to take a step. And then in year 2, but I just want to say one thing about the trade in which the Jets traded up from 6 to 3 last year. It was a big debate. Do you give up 2s? Do you give up 1s? Everyone said, how much did the Jets give up by giving away 3 2s? And I just come back with this. If the Jets had given up the 2019 first-round pick, I think the situation would look a lot worse than it is right now, because whoever, I guess the Colts would have the number 3 overall pick if back last year Maccagnan traded the 2019 first overall pick, and instead he traded 2 2s last year and a 2 this year. So the Jets don't have a second-round pick this year, and the situation looks a lot brighter, I think.
Yeah, and something to keep in mind, too, that the Jets have coaches on staff who are under contract, so they are still here. We'll have to see what happens when the green and white ultimately find their next leader and what he wants to do with some of the guys here internally on staff.
So Sam Darnold, obviously a big piece, very appealing to the next Jets head coach. He actually spoke to the media today and talked about those head coach changes and expressed some of his thoughts.
I think, anytime you make a coaching change and anytime new coaches come in on the offensive side of the ball, there's always going to be a learning process. But at the same time, I feel like those guys upstairs do a great job in hiring the right guys, and they get paid to make those decisions, and I have confidence that they're going to make the right decisions. So, I'm really confident in the offense that's going to be here in the future, and I'm going to do my best to produce a lot of points and produce a lot of wins.
Rookie quarterback Sam Darnold expressing some of his immediate thoughts on the coaching change. And, obviously he said, I hope I don't have to go through this again at any point in my career. But, a bright future ahead for this rookie quarterback, Sam Darnold. And something to leave on a positive note is that so far, Christopher Johnson, Mike Maccagnan on this same page. They talked about it both in today's media press that they are confident in one another's plan and confident going through, and they know exactly what they're looking for in a head coach.
Yeah, totally in sync, and you got to get to work on this in earnest, because with 7 other teams looking for head coaches, that means a lot of these guys are going to be interviewed by multiple teams. But like Christopher Johnson said, he thinks that, hey, listen, this is an attractive spot, and they are in sync on the plan. And a big part of this plan, frankly, was getting in position to get a guy like Sam Darnold. They're very encouraged by what they saw from him in 2018. Now this offseason will be about adding some pieces around Sam Darnold, both on the offensive side of the football and on the defensive side of the football. Mike Maccagnan, I will say, wasn't asked a lot about draft picks today as far as future draft picks. But he's stated all along that you still have to build this thing through the draft. And I don't want people to think out there that free agency is a magic panacea that automatically you're just going to spend and throw it out there. No. What you're set up for right now is financial flexibility, and you got to target people. And there are waves of free agency. Yes, you go to Macy's early on, but maybe some bargain basement shopping as well.
I thought you were going to say you go to Saks Fifth Avenue.
Well, I go to Saks. I said you go to Macy's. Maybe I'll go to Saks Fifth Avenue. You know about that. Yeah, my people over there. But listen to Billy Wynn and the guys. But seriously, though, some people are going to go, not all the teams who strike early in free agency get the immediate contributions from folks, because a lot of times early on in free agency, you have to overspend. That's part of the deal. Mike Maccagnan still wants to build this thing through the draft, and that's the way to go.
I think the other thing that maybe is overlooked a bit in terms of free agency is that you can re-sign your own players, especially with a lot of money. And the Jets do have a lot of free agents, maybe not the guys that EA talks about on Saks Fifth Avenue, but there are a lot of players on this team that will become restricted, unrestricted free agents come March. And from now till then, the Jets can sign whoever they want to as long as they were under contract on their team. Obviously, you can't talk to other free agents, but there is a legal tampering period 2 days before free agency opens, but that is so far
and we're not there yet, but Jamal Adams was doing his best out there to recruit a couple guys.
He did say that. He said he was going to actively recruit free agents.
And Mike Maccagnan said that he was going to use Jamal as an active recruiter in pro free agency. And Jamal Adams last year, if you remember, he tried to recruit Tyrann Mathieu. He's part of the Texans, the Honey Badger, the LSU boys. But I think what EA said before stands out to me, too, that Christopher Johnson shares the vision with Mike Maccagnan, and they have a plan, and Christopher Johnson said, for better or worse, I like the plan, and we're going forward with the plan. And to the head coaching jobs, in that it's other teams are also searching and will be interviewing. Like we talked about, Christopher Johnson said, this is a competitive process. There are other teams looking. I think this is a good landing spot. The Jets are a really good spot for a coach to end up, so I think we have a competitive advantage there. But we're not going to sit down. We're not going to wait for people to come to us. We're going to search hard and fast, and we're going to get this done.
As for New York, he said, if you make it here, you're a freaking legend. And
he did say that.
That is verbatim. That's verbatim.
I'm definitely using that on NewYorkJets.com tonight. But, yeah, listen. This is an attractive destination. And the Jets and Christopher Johnson was also very open, candid, honest about, hey, this is not easy finding the right guy in the head coaching search. This is the first one where he will be looking for a man in charge.
In the big chair, he said.
Yes, in the big chair. And he also pointed at himself today, taking a lot of responsibility and telling the fans that he feels their pain, and he feels personally that he's got to do a better job. This means a lot to him. You could see that. You could see that today, and you could see that every time Christopher talks.
A lot of moving parts heading into this new Jets head coach search, but one of the really big parts is rookie quarterback Sam Darnold, who's actually not going to be a rookie at all next year. And he is someone that really needs to be taken into consideration when thinking about this head coaching job. And he spoke not only about the head coaching job, but he spoke on what he thought and his final thoughts of the remainder of the season and overall his rookie year all in one.
You know, as a team, I thought we battled. We fought hard. You know, obviously not the record that you want coming out of the season, but you know, I just thought, you know, we gave the effort that we were looking for. You know, I feel like we were just a few plays away from being, you know, 8-8 or maybe even having a winning record. So it's just little things that you look at throughout the year and little details that we wish we could have been better at. We'll learn from it and grow from it and grow as an offense.
Sam, where do you think you improved most in your game from college?
Yeah, I mean, I thought, you know, I did a better job with the turnovers this year. I mean, you know, threw some picks, but did a lot better in the pocket in terms of keeping two hands on the football. And then just going about, you know, reading the defense and, you know, figuring out, you know, what a defense was doing pre-snap versus post-snap. And all those little things, I feel like I'm just getting a lot more comfortable out there.
Sam Darnold obviously not satisfied with the 4-12 finish on the season, but he seems to be pretty confident in the future. And Christopher Johnson said it best inside the media today. He said, listen, Sam is an important piece, but it's not all about Sam. There are other talented players on this roster. So looking ahead, when there will come that head coaching change for the Jets in the 2019 season, something important to think about is that Sam Darnold may or may not have to learn a completely new offense. So how can this affect not only Sam, but this team as a whole?
Listen, that's a great question, because those are all things that you have to talk about in the interview process. Is your head coaching candidate, okay, who's your offensive coordinator? What kind of scheme are you going to run? Who's your defensive coordinator? What kind of scheme are you going to run? Are you flexible? Do you think you can work with some of the guys, the pieces we have in place? Mike Maccagnan definitely has a vision for this team. Christopher Johnson has a vision for this team. The new head coach has to share in a similar vision, because a lot of times what happens is you have an organizational reset when you bring in a new head coach, new schemes, new system, and sometimes teams take a step back. The New York Jets do not want to take a step back. They don't intend to. Interesting couple parallels I thought Mike Maccagnan brought up in his media availability today. He brought up Jared Goff in his first year with the Rams. We know what happened when Sean McVay took over, and we see the Rams ascending the NFC's number 2 seed. Then secondly, the Chicago Bears. Rookie quarterback Mitch Trubisky out of North Carolina, up and down his rookie season. Then they went out and got somebody from Andy Reid's coaching tree and Matt Nagy, and look at them. Now, Patrick Mahomes doesn't grow on trees, but the Jets think they have quite a good young passer themselves. So there are similar parallels. And Greens, you can make a jump from year 1 to year 2. We've seen that with rookie head coaches with those quarterbacks who are starting their second season.
I mean, how about Carson Wentz? That's a name that jumps off the page, too. He was the MVP of the league until he got hurt, and obviously this year
with Doug Peterson.
Doug Peterson, another Andy Reid disciple. And I think that it all goes back to Tony Romo again, that he said players in year 1 to year 2 that he thinks are going to be really good, and Sam Darnold is one of those players, makes those jumps in the offseason, and then when you come back in OTAs and training camp and mini camp. And I think that if you're a Jets fan, you have to be excited because of the way Sam Darnold closed out the season. Yes, Week 17 was not a pretty sight, but it was not all on Sam Darnold's shoulders. This is a team effort here, and I think that moving forward, the future is bright for Sam and the Jets. And the young core is more than Sam Darnold. Obviously, you can't forget about the Curtis Martin team MVP, Jamal Adams, Pro Bowler. Also, don't forget about someone like Marcus May, who had his season derailed by injury. He's going to come back healthy. Last year, we were talking about maybe Jamal Adams and Marcus May have the potential for being one of, if not the best safety tandem in the NFL. So I think that there are a lot of players in the building. It's going to be a matter of time before they come together.
And finally, on the head coaching bit, and we're going to be talking about it a lot here in the future. And I know this is the final practice today presented by SiriusXM of the year, is that with these head coaches, you're going to hear about a lot of candidates, okay? And a lot of folks can be successful, but you have to find out, again, the vision. Are they on board? Who's going to come in here and help you make that initial jump immediately? It's going to be an interesting process. These guys are going to be very thorough about it. Christopher Johnson, this means the world to him to turn this thing around.
All right, well, EA said it best. This was the final show of practice today presented by SiriusXM of 2018. The Jets, Christopher Johnson, Mike Maccagnan, obviously going to be very active in the new Jets 2019 head coach. That's all that we have for you guys today, but have a happy and safe new year, and we'll see you in 2019.